I'm just planning out my window to make sure I know what I'm doing. So I know my window is 24 by 48 and I want another ½ inch on every side for shims and foam to make sure it's perfectly airtight. So I'm going to add 1 inch to my sizing. This gives me 25 and 49. I'm going to just mark that out on the bottom. The width for right now, I'm not worried about the height right now, I'm just doing the width right now, marking it out on the bottom. And before I get too far in, I'm doing a bit of a little diagram just to remind myself I need a header. I'm going to be using 2x8s, and then I need a king stud holding all of that underneath the jack, and then I need cripple, and then my sill plate to hold the window. So this is the window obviously, and then the sill plate on a bit of an angle sloping out for the water to go down. Then of course you've got the bottom plate here for framing, and then a plate running across the top. Not everybody calls them kings and jacks. Some people call the inside, what do they call it? Trimmer stud. There are all kinds of names for these things. I don't really know. This is to tell me the crown side up, but you'd know crown side up because you have the measurements. In this case, I'm doing a single line. Usually guys have 2 lines so they know where to put the 2x4. I'm going to put the 2x4 right down the middle. This is my window side. This is where my jack stud's going to go, my king stud. This is just another line for a usual stud that I'm going to move over a little bit. Typical stud, and then be a cripple here, a cripple there, and then my jack and king stud again. This will be the width 2x8 for the header above all this stuff. You'll see as I go. Got my king studs in that I know are going to hold the header. I've cut the header, in my case is 52 inches wide. I put a ½ inch piece of ply underneath in between the two, so there's a full depth. You want to be able to put drywall or outside, you want things to be flush when you put the sheathing on. So I glued it, nailed it every 5 or 6 inches so I know it's really strong, because that's holding all of the weight where these 2x4s would be. Think of the space underneath your window as a suspension bridge. There shouldn't really be any force pushing. So this is the bottom, this is the bottom, this is the top. Sorry, I should have started with that. That's the top of things, and this wall is going to come up. So underneath here, it should just be like a suspension bridge where things are being held up, but they're not being pushed down. No pressure should be on the window. So I know I want my sill here. I'm going to cut my cripple so that the sill actually faces out like this a little bit, so the water, if it gets behind, will drip down. I have to push that up yet. I haven't nailed any of this. Measuring 5 times, thinking it through, because I don't want to make a mistake. It can add up cost sense, and it's embarrassing. So now the next step is to push that header to where I know I want it and start nailing some things down. Jack, what did I do here? Oh, I did it incorrectly. The jack is going to go here. Ah, see, I made a mistake. This is too wide. I don't know why I made it too wide. It's better too wide than too short, because I can still cut it short. Anyway, the jack studs are now going to go in roughly where I know I want it. And then this will go in when it's sized properly. So let's do that. some of my mistakes include, first, underestimating how long those nails were. I was putting in 3 1/4 inch nails, and I don't know if you can see it. Because of the angle, here, there. Because of the angle of the gun, the nail shot just shy of the bottom of each plate when I was nailing it on top, which meant I really gouged up the plywood on top. Not super bad, nothing I can't live with, but those nails were much longer than I thought, and they were going right through. That's not great, not the end of the world. I underestimated how tall this thing was. This is 10 feet. I should have had a measuring tape, because we ended up going into a tree just a little bit, and it didn't put much force on it. But you can imagine if that had been a bigger tree, stronger branch, and we're trying to hoist this thing up, it could have really messed up. This got heavy really quick. So I didn't see the tree, I didn't think ahead in that regard. A couple of other things I messed up. I forgot to put the sill plate, it's a gasket material, foam, underneath. I got so excited about lifting the wall that I forgot about the kind of important, nothing I can't fix. I'm going to be gluing behind anyway. And the reason it's important is that the bottom and the top maybe not as bad, but certainly at the bottom, a lot of air can come through. And it's not just that the air comes through and then it's not a perfectly sealed environment, it's that when hot and cold air mix, you get condensation. So years of not having any kind of gasket or sill foam of some kind underneath might lead to some kind of moisture issue, might lead to some kind of mold issue, I don't know. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm on the outside, when I put the sheathing on, I'm gonna have a bead of glue going right across any gaps to prevent that air penetration and possible issues. Again, just possible issues. Forgot to put the California corners in too. People make a big deal about California corners. It's just one extra board, so if you have something to put your drywall on when you have the other wall up, that opportunity would disappear, because that other wall is going to take up the space and there won't be a 2x4 for the drywall on the wall. So put another board, but if you put the board in the wrong way, it fills in the cavity, so you can't put insulation in. The California corner fills in the corner, but it leaves a gap. Fills in the corner for drywall, but leaves a gap. mistakes I've made so far. I can't, for whatever reason, stop nailing into the subfloor. I had to get used to how long those nails are and stop shooting downwards. I tried really hard, but that second wall, oh well. Other mistakes I've made. Some of the lumber I should have not used. It was just too warped and it's hard to deal with. Third mistake I made, I framed in a window. After I took my time making sure the window openings were perfect for the slider door and the window above it, and I put all the nice pieces together, for some reason I went in and then I framed the inside of the window, which makes no sense. I think what happened is, after I put the jack studs underneath holding up the header, in my head I just thought, oh, I missed 5 more pieces, I have to put those 5 in. It only takes a second to lose your focus and you start framing in windows that you don't need to. It's a 5-minute fix with the Sawzall, not even 5 minutes, but it's probably $10 in lumber that I wasted.